I want to begin by thanking the World Bank President Jim Kim for being a part of Bloomberg Global Business Forum and for being a close partner for Bloomberg Philanthropies on many of the issues we work on, including public health. The only bad thing I can say about Jim Kim, if you're a golfer, he plays to a 2, I play to a 17. He is a very good golfer. He's also a very good president of the World Bank. Jim does deserve a lot of credit for drawing attention to the critical role that cities can play in fighting climate change. And we just came from a roundtable upstairs which was focused on helping cities access funding for low-carbon infrastructure. And I think that's a great example of the kinds of things that Jim can do. Cities account for something like 70% of carbon emissions. So on one hand, they're the bulk of the problem. On the other, they're also the home to the most effective solutions. Mayors recognize that health and economic benefits of action can do some things that really lead the way. And here in New York, we were able to reduce our carbon footprint by about 20% in just 7 years. And cities around the world, well-run cities, are making similar progress. But the truth of the matter is the progress would be happening far faster if cities had more access to funding. It is estimated that by mid-century, about 70% of all financing needs to mitigate and adapt to climate change will be for urban infrastructure. The price tag is in the tens of trillions of dollars, and cities currently do not have a clear pathway to finance anything like that. Typically, federal governments and state governments have access to the credit markets, but city governments in many cases do not. And there are steps that we are trying to take to bridge that gap. Businesses can help to provide capital funding through public-private partnerships. So can international bodies like the World Bank. Governments and nonprofits can help to identify opportunities and ways to get around hurdles. And the more we work together, the faster we can make some progress. Let me give you an example. Bloomberg Philanthropies has been helping to lead an international coalition of cities called the Global Covenant of Mayors, whose aim is to speed up progress on climate change through collaboration. One focus of the effort is directing more financing to cities. And there are 3 goals in particular that we're working together to achieve all of that, and all of which the World Bank is helping us on. The first is something called de-risking investment, by helping more cities become credit-worthy. Many cities, particularly in developing countries, don't have a credit rating that would allow access to debt financing and global capital markets. Some don't have a rating at all. But with technical assistance, they can fix that, and the World Bank has helped make that happen in a number of cities, including Lima, Peru, which uses its rating to secure funding for mass transit. Second, we're helping cities and national governments measure the financial costs and opportunities of city climate plans so that those plans can be taken into account as countries implement the Paris Agreement. Better measurement can highlight opportunities for national and international financing of climate projects that might otherwise get missed. And third, we are working through the Global Covenant C40 and other partners to directly connect specific investment needs in cities to potential funders. The aim is, through a kind of matchmaking function, to help identify a pipeline of investment-ready deals. Now, these are some of the possible solutions, but we should explore every avenue, and that was the goal of the roundtable, and I think it is in everybody's interest to help cities access funding, including the private sector. Most of the world's businesses are located in cities, and the risks from climate change are particularly high in cities, since something like 90% of cities are by the water, and certainly the big cities. And the trillions of dollars needed for new infrastructure investment is a huge opportunity. If we take the right steps to facilitate it and make it less risky, especially in developing countries, the investors and the borrowers can both benefit. But I know we can do it, and I want to thank Jim Kim and the World Bank for their commitment to leading on this topic. So let me turn it over to Jim. Jim?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mayor Bloomberg. It's a great opportunity, and I just want to, first of all, thank Mayor Bloomberg for his tremendous leadership. I mean, the C40 would not have happened without him. And, what we're hearing from all over the world is that the cities and the states, the provinces, they're going to lead and ensure that we get to the goals. Now, Paris was such an important event, and it really set the tone. It also sent a very strong message both to governments and to the private sector. But now we need to do the hard work of providing the finance. Mayor Bloomberg talked about it. It's actually over the next 15 years, there'll be $90 trillion invested in infrastructure, and that $90 trillion will be more than all of the infrastructure investments that have ever been made in human history. And over $60 trillion of that will go to the cities. 70% of it will go to the cities. So we have a tremendous opportunity, but we have to make sure that those investments are climate smart. We have to make sure that those investments have an impact both on mitigation for climate change and also adaptation. Build cities that are cleaner, build cities that are more adapted to the changes in the climate. Now, there's a tremendous opportunity, and that opportunity is that most people would say that there's at least 10 trillion plus in negative interest rate bonds. There's another 10 to 15 trillion in very, very low yielding government bonds. And everywhere I go, talking to pension fund managers, to sovereign wealth fund managers, everyone is looking for greater return. But their sense is that investing, for example, in a developing country, middle-income countries, low-income countries, in a way that would in fact have a great impact on climate change is too risky. So we're here, and we're very glad to have Patricia here. The World Bank and the United Nations together are creating a platform. It's called Invest for Climate. And this is the natural progression from the Paris Agreement. And the natural progression is we're going to bring all the different forces together, investors, countries who will put projects on the table, the United Nations, and Patricia will tell you, but the United Nations just being involved and helping with policy reform also is a de-risking factor. And all the multilateral development banks, we will put every single one of our tools on the table. And it's not just low-interest financing. It's not concessional financing. It's political risk insurance. It's credit enhancement. It's taking first loss on larger debt instruments. There's so many ways that we can de-risk, including helping governments change the policies that need to be changed in order to give investors the sense that it's a safe and, in fact, a high-returning investment. What we want to do is, with this platform, is create a place where countries can bring their greatest aspirations for low-carbon development, and the owners of capital can come to not only have a positive impact, but to get a better return. We don't think this will survive unless governments are willing to come to the table and make the reforms they need to make, and the owners of capital are getting a better return by investing in the projects we put on the table. So we're extremely proud of being here. We're grateful to Mayor Bloomberg for inviting us. We're especially grateful for Patricia and the United Nations to be doing this with us. We have a plan. We'll meet again at the annual meetings of the World Bank and the IMF in October. We'll bring the ministers of finance together. We'll announce the platform again. We'll invite them to bring their projects. We'll meet again in Bonn in COP23, where we'll again bring stakeholders together. But then by December 12th, and President Macron, many of you know, has called an anniversary meeting. On the second anniversary of the Paris Agreement, we're all going to be in Paris, and by then, we hope to have real deals on the table where unlikely investors have invested in climate change-related projects, and they've done so because the United Nations and the World Bank together have come and de-risked those investments in a way that will make them both lucrative for the investors and great for the environment. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor Bloomberg, and we look forward to seeing you all and continuing to report our progress as we go along. And I'd like to introduce my friend Patricia.
Patricia, let me just say something. Patricia Espinosa is representing the Secretary General of the United Nations, but she is Mexican. I think all of us, our prayers go out to the people in Mexico. A terrible tragedy so far. Last time I saw numbers, 250 people killed. Who knows how many it's really going to be. So, and hopefully you tell me your family's okay, but our prayers are there for those that are not. After you.
Thank you. Thank you, Major Bloomberg, and thank you for your solidarity and your thoughts with the Mexican people which are suffering again just a few days after a very big earthquake. Thank you very much. And I want to say also there has been an incredible amount of solidarity here in the U.S. with Mexico on that, and I'm very grateful for that, even if I'm not representing, of course, Mexico. I'm very happy to be here today together with Major Bloomberg and President Kim to address one of the most important issues of our time and for the future of humanity, which is climate change and particularly financing of action against climate change. I want to start by acknowledging the leadership of Major Bloomberg in this area. It is really no exaggeration to say that a lot of the movement that we have seen globally really has been thanks to your leadership and your dedication to this cause. And I also want to thank President Kim for his interest and his initiative to put together this platform, Invest for Climate platform, that we will be co-managing together, the UN and the World Bank. Indeed, financing is one of the key issues to make progress, to make effective progress towards implementing the goals of the Paris Agreement and helping countries to make to honor their commitments. So the UN supports innovative financing solutions like this platform that have a likelihood of driving scaled financing to address climate objectives that would not have otherwise have taken place. This is the contribution, the huge contribution of this platform. The UN believes that this platform does have this potential, and we are very much aware of the fact that success of this platform will be measured by a significant increase in new financing, effective deployment of that financing. And we know that this platform will be immediately rising expectations, but we also know that President Kim and many of the people that are working on this initiative will work together to make it happen. So we are happy to partner with the World Bank in co-managing the platform and to work with this leaders group that he has put together with Major Bloomberg. This is really a part of the UN's long-standing work on financing. And the specific focus on climate-related financing, the Secretary General has made it clear, has underlined it, and recently launched his strategy for financing the 2030 agenda. And we need to underline that climate change action is really at the center of achieving all the SDGs. All of them are in one or another way related to addressing climate change. So, and the United Nations is probably the world's most important de-risker of investments, and President Kim was already talking about that. We're not often seen in this way, and we ourselves do not often speak of our work in this way. But the fact is that our core business of peace and security, humanitarian and development assistance, does as a spillover provide systematic de-risking that is needed for long-term investing. So as a partner of the platform, we see this as a key contribution that we can make, helping to lay the ground for large-scale investments that are being mobilized upstream. So the platform is, of course, one of many, many vehicles for mobilizing finance to address climate change and to put in place a transformation that has started but needs to be much deeper and needs to happen faster. We are certain that this platform, together with the other partners, including the Green Climate Fund, will be helpful for countries in fulfilling their commitments. Thank you very much.